So Mark, what drew you to Muhlenberg?
That's a great question. So Jenny and I were looking for a new church home, and I met this guy on campus named Joe Voigt, who was the pastor at Muhlenberg. And we were actually in the recreation center, and we kept talking about spiritual stuff. And so he said, well, come to our church. And the minute we walked in the door, we had this extreme sense of welcoming and this friendly feeling, and we haven't stopped coming since. It was just that wonderful spirit that was here.
That is so cool. That is so cool. I can kind of relate. The first time I came with my daughters, we had been going to a small mission church. I was missing that feeling of the Spirit being present during church. And I remember sitting in the very back, because the girls were younger then. And I'm often moved to tears anyway, but I just remember almost crying and thinking, this is what it's supposed to feel like.
Yeah.
And I had that same sense.
Wonderful feeling.
Yeah, it
Wonderful
is.
feeling.
So tell me, why do you give to Muhlenberg?
So Jenny and I give, it's out of a sense of thanksgiving. It's that desire to perpetuate God's love. That's it in a nutshell. I guess we're done with the interview now, and I can call it a wrap or whatever.
Yeah, that's...
But I probably won't.
Okay, keep going then.
Well, I guess first of all, we need to be clear. God doesn't need the money, but the church does. You know, and when I think about creating a vibrant faith community and a meaningful spiritual experience, it takes resources. And Jenny and I have always felt a calling to help provide some of those resources. You know, there's another real practical reason, is we need to keep the lights on. And, you know, just as in our own homes, we pay for our electricity, the church has to pay for electricity. Just as we have our own operating costs, the church has operating costs. And, you know, so from a practical perspective, I think it's really important. I'm the son of a pastor. And I remember as a little kid, my dad was worried about literally keeping the lights on. He was worried about music for worship. He was worried about creating a rich worship experience. He was worried about creating a dynamic Christian education program. Well, Muhlenberg is no different. And my dad was also real worried about paying his staff and paying pastors. And so it's one of those things where in order to keep a church and a faith community thriving, it means that members of the congregation need to step up and they need to offer money. I think sometimes people think that there's some entity out there that gives a congregation all the money to run everything, and we know that that's not the case. Yeah. All of the money comes from within.
It's us.
And so it would be really nice if that was the case, that it was external, but it's not. And so Jenny and I give because we want to do our part, and we want to make sure that this is that community that's welcoming, that's inviting, where people can grow spiritually, where they can express their spirituality, and it's a place of comfort, and it's a spiritual home. So that's why we give.
That's awesome. Beautiful. Perfectly said.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.